Yeah, I'm busy too.
I'm busy.
I'm
Hey,
busy
watch it.
too, yeah.
You gotta be careful.
Oh, yeah, me too.
Just trying to get through my
Yeah, me too.
What's wrong with you? What?
Bethesda has had a long run of amazing games. I'm talking about Fallout, Doom, Dishonored, and of course Skyrim, all of which have about a combined average production time of 4.2592838 years. Now, Starfield rolls into town and is, well, interesting. With about an 8-year production time under its belt and a measly $200 million budget, this game just had to be great. I mean, it had to be. I mean, what do you get when you combine a well-known and trusted video game company, 8+ years, and $200 million? A Metascore disaster. From disappointment to sadness, even outright rage, Starfield isn't the game we were expecting. So, what happened? What went wrong? Well, would you believe me if I told you that I already gave you the answer? Buckle in, dear homo sapien, we're in for a deep dive today. The truth behind Starfield's controversy. Don't forget to subscribe and smash that bell thing. In November of 2015, after the release and success of Fallout 4, Bethesda decided that now was the time to start a project that our good old buddy Todd Howard had been excited for years. A Bethesda-style RPG set in space. So from late 2015 on, they started working. And it was only about mid-2018, 3 years later, in case you couldn't do the simple math, that we got our first trailer. And to say people were excited would be an understatement. Bethesda fans and simple viewers across the world were already hooked and interested. What would this game be like? Everybody agreed it was about time for Bethesda to make an RPG set in space. But what would it be like? There aren't a huge supply of space sci-fi games by big and well-trusted companies out there. I mean, if I were to ask you just a couple of them, what would you say? Go on, type it in the comments. I'll give you a second. Okay, we're done. Moving on. Star Wars Battlefront, Outer Worlds, Destiny to an extent, maybe even XCOM, but that took place on Earth mostly. But Mass Effect is most likely the first thing you thought of. There really aren't that many space RPGs out there. Mass Effect, all the way back in 2017, did a pretty stinking good job of setting the standard for sci-fi games going forward. We'll come back to this in a second, so don't forget it. So at the 2018 E3 event, Starfield was first announced to be released on November 11th of 2022. But it was later delayed and rescheduled. And on September 6th of this year, we finally got it. Like, for real, for real. Now this is all so far so good, except for the reschedule of course, but it seems as if this game had a lot smoother production story than most of the games being made these days. Now while this seems great, the reviews were mixed. Some people loved it and others were disappointed. A common complaint was that the game was just unfulfilling. Weeks later and more reviews on Starfield seemed to paint the game as an unfulfilling waste of time. Remember that because we'll be coming back to this in a second. Здравствуйте, кто это? What? Oh, it's you. Why have you called this number? Just making sure the people watching this are subscribed. Oh, got it. Thank you. Because if they're not, I'm gonna have to... do what, bro? Take care of them. Oh, really? Like cradling them like a baby and take care of them? Or take care of them? Oh, subscribe. Hurry, right now, do it. Well, I think everybody here is subscribed, so... I mean, you know, this is probably the most you've ever spoken in your life. I mean, you said more here than when Cortana died, but I don't want to keep you longer. Bye, bro. That was close. Just subscribe. Now, I've done a somewhat decent job of laying everything out. We have all the pieces to the puzzle. Let's now get to the bottom of this. But in order to solve this mystifying mystery, I need to introduce you to our two fabulous guests. On stage now is Skyrim and Mass Effect. While this duo might not seem to fit into this problem, I promise you, they're valuable pieces to the equation. Skyrim is a late 2011 fantasy RPG by Bethesda themselves. Mass Effect is a late 2007 RPG by BioWare. Now, I'm sure you have at least heard of these games, if not then you just did, but for the sake of time, I'm not going to go into super detail on them. Just you get the point. Looking forward to Starfield, most of the people thought that it would be somewhat like Mass Effect 2, or new. I mean, I think we can all agree that we were waiting for the trailer to show us some aliens, but we got something else. I mean, what other space RPGs out there are as big as Starfield was gonna be? Mass Effect. Now, of course, Skyrim was also in the mix, but something about this game set itself apart from Skyrim. Procedural generation. If there's one thing that Bethesda just can't stop talking about, it's how everything in Starfield can be traveled to and explored. I mean, like how there are planets out there that you'll explore that nobody else has even seen before. Now, while this concept is cool, it also has some problems, specifically with Bethesda and the kind of game Starfield is. Turns out, Starfield is actually really different from Mass Effect. ME put a huge emphasis on the story, whether that was through the literal campaign or side quests. In pretty much every single part and element of Mass Effect 1 through 3, Andromeda isn't Mass Effect, story is always there. From talking to a random alien on the Citadel or going off and exploring a forgotten planet, and of course, while you're on the way talking to your companions, Mass Effect is an RPG. The decisions you make in that first game literally affect all the games after that. That's how story-driven we're talking about here. Now, Starfield, let's be honest, like pretty much all the other Bethesda games out there, doesn't have this much of an emphasis on the story. Let's face it, do any of us actually know what's going on in Skyrim story-wise? I would estimate a good 60 to 70% of Fallout 4 players only finish about 30% at most of the story. The majority of us just don't find ourselves playing Bethesda games for the story. It's the world. Skyrim, although often very cold, is an iconic and beautiful world. The small villages scattered across Skyrim might not be big, but they're full of life and adventure. And of course, let's never, ever forget Jeremy Soul's legendary soundtrack. Fallout, although often full of horrifying beasts of what once was, is another iconic world we just won't be forgetting anytime soon. This time Bethesda tried the whole building system, and I think it worked. We don't usually play Bethesda games for the story, we play it for the world. Problem number 1, Mass Effect wasn't the best thing to compare Starfield to. Note taken, moving on. Now, while this is a Bethesda game, they messed up. We've already established that Bethesda kinda has a thing for world-driven games, so it's only a matter of time until we get a sci-fi space game. This was expected. Now, this is already very different from the other games Todd Howard has brewed. Instead of having one world map that we explore, we have many different planets and not much in between. All the trailers, all the gameplay trailers, all the announcements, even Todd Howard's mom, they all talk about how there are tons of explorable planets. How even the moon you see way over there can be landed on and walked on, similar to No Man's Sky, a game that when it was first released was all about the procedurally generated planets, all 18 quintillion of them to be precise. I feel it's safe to say that Starfield was affected in the production phase by this right here, the focus on the planets. Problem number 2, Bethesda lost their way with Starfield because of their focus on all the planets. Now, Starfield also suffers from one more fatal fail, arguably the final nail in the coffin, and it all couldn't have been done without the help of the other two problems. Meaningless, unfulfilling, unsatisfying. All of these words and many more have been used to describe Starfield, even coming from people with dozens upon dozens upon dozens of hours of gameplay. Now, I didn't play that much, but oh my goodness. Nothing in this game feels important or meaningful. Bethesda has already had some problems with this, because even some of the developers have said that the decisions you make in Skyrim don't really matter. Todd Howard said that Skyrim wasn't about telling a story, but about being who you want and doing what you want. But we're not talking about story. We're talking about the reason most people play Bethesda games, the world. Starfield is lifeless. Sure, you can explore tons and tons of different planets, but there really isn't anything new after a while. Space pirate bases, strange mysterious structures, and stinking caves and mining. That's about it. Welcome to Starfield. Simply put, it was only a matter of time until Bethesda, a company whose expertise is in games about worlds and freedom, would make a space game. And really the only other big sci-fi game out there to compare this to while Starfield was being made is Mass Effect. This would not be the best decision. Mass Effect is a story game, Starfield is a world game. But Bethesda got a little too carried away with the whole planet and spacing that they lost sight of what makes a Bethesda game special. And so we got a flatlined game. Starfield is lifeless because there's no point to doing anything, there's no reward. An amazing comment on the game by Far Percentage 7460 goes, does anyone else get the feeling you're forcing yourself to play in hopes it will be rewarding? Agreed. On all those planets, there isn't really all that to do or find that's new once you've played for a couple of hours out of the tutorial. So in the end, it's the same amount of content as Skyrim, but spread thin across an entire galaxy. Even the side quests in Skyrim were full of life and story and meaning. Even when you're just traveling to the place, you would still meet people on the road, see animals and stuff interacting, and maybe if you were lucky, a dragon way off flying around its claimed mountain. But in Starfield, you get the point. This just isn't the game most people were expecting. Now, is this the worst game ever made? No. Am I saying don't buy it? It's up to you. So, what do you think? Definitely a mess of a situation, but once again, the game isn't unenjoyable. You can still have fun in the game, and depending on what kind of stuff you like to play, Starfield could actually be the best game for you. Now, I do feel the need to mention the fact that there are a lot of other controversies surrounding this game. I just didn't feel like putting them in a video because, well, just read my channel art. And also, how many times have I said Starfield in this video? If you can count that and give me a number, I'll give you a Bugatti. I don't know. I love you guys. I hope you have a great rest of the day. And remember, life is short. Play great games.
No. It's a laser
Yeah.
sledgehammer.
Sledgehammer. Ease up. Yeah, bro. Oh my
If you
god.
got paid for a break, you'd be a millionaire.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. Jeez. Stupid. Oh wait, I'm wearing a mask. Wow. I did not need to download 250 plus gigabytes of game if this is what I was doing. I could easily just get Deep Rock Galactic. I'll be back soon.
Time. You're with me.
Okay, this is actually annoying. Now that's a face not even a mother would love. There we go. I think they heard that. It's my bad. I'm sorry. Yeah. That was not me. That was not me. Son. Here, let me help you up. I can help you up.
Not interested.
Oh,
Whatever
shoot.
it is. You got somewhere
Me
else
too.
to be.
Me too. Yeah.
What's wrong with you?
You alright?
I don't know.
Glad when we're off this rock.
I was kind of
Careful!
dropped when I was a baby. Oh wait. Oh, press A to take it. Oh. Oh. Spider-Man does whatever a spider can. Changes his facial structure, dates 40-year-old looking women. Watch out, this is the Spider-Man. Sorry to suffer through that. Talk about an iconic superhero, Spider-Man is way up there. And talking about an iconic video game,